Welcome to Sports Talk with R&J. I am Steve Risser along with Justin Joffrey. We've got a busy show today. We'll debate if Wemby's the best player in the league. We got the Stanley Cup playoffs. The Yankees have won 2 in a row over the defending AL champs. But we got to start with what happened at Madison Square Garden last night, and that was absolutely crazy. With 7.5 minutes to go, it looked like the Knicks were going to lose game one. They were down 93-71. They're down 22 with 7.5 to go. But then they end up making their largest comeback in NBA history, led by Jalen Brunson, who was absolutely phenomenal in the fourth quarter with 38 points last night. The Knicks' rush showed early. It really did. They couldn't hit threes. Their rust really showed early in that game, but in the fourth quarter, they were phenomenal. Jalen Brunson was amazing. And at the end of the game, Landry Shamet hits that big shot. Then Brunson ties it, and then when she went to overtime, you knew the Knicks were winning that game. You knew the Knicks were going to win that game once that game got to overtime. There's no way the Knicks were losing that game once they went to overtime. They end up winning. They end up winning it last night, 125-114. So a huge, huge win for the Knicks. Kind of the opposite of last year when they had that 14-point lead with 2.5 to go, and they gave that game away. So kind of the opposite of what happened last year in Game 1 against the Pacers. So so kind of the opposite of last year for the Knicks. So humongous win for the Knicks last night over the Cavs. And Justin, your thoughts on what happened last night?
Yeah, one of the more epic collapses I've seen from a basketball team. I think it was a 44-10, 44-11 run at the end of the basketball game for the Knicks there. Kenny Atkinson took till it was an 18-1 run to finally call a timeout, and he, he's got extra timeouts in his back pocket today that he can't use, but James Harden was a sieve on defense, which we all knew, and Jalen Brunson absolutely embarrassed him, especially in that fourth quarter. And Landry Shamet, you mentioned the big three-pointer he made there. He was a plus 25 the whole game, and that bounce too. That was kind of like Halliburton got that crazy bounce game one last year in the Eastern Conference Finals. Kind of the basketball guys giving it back to the Knicks this time around. So, heck of a game. That Garden was eerily quiet for a long time in the final 7-8 minutes. That building for a Knicks game had, probably has not been that loud in a very long time. So, heck of a comeback for the Knicks, and they just feel like the team of destiny right now.
Oh, absolutely. Without question. They definitely feel like the team of destiny. The way they came back, you would think after a comeback like that it feels like at least it's their year to win the East. It feels like at least it's their year to win the East. So that was a crazy comeback. Now, I'm going to give my reasons to why the Knicks came back and why the Cavs lost. Justin, I know I didn't put this in the rundown, but you can give yours as well. I mean, first for me with the Knicks, Brunson was just amazing. Brunson played like a top 10 player in the league. He took over. He played like a true superstar last night. There's a lot of questions that if is Brunson a superstar or not. He absolutely played like a superstar last night, and that was a huge reason why the Knicks won that game because he played like a superstar. Number two, they were able to attack. James Harden on defense. They were able to attack James Harden on defense. That was huge. And as you said earlier, Kenny Atkinson really never figured that out. They needed to take James Harden out of the game, and Kenny Atkinson never figured that out. And then number three, the role player stepped up. Bridges hit the big shot to cut the lead to 3, and then Shamet hit the big shot there, which set up Brunson hitting the big shot to tie the game late. So to me, those were my reasons why the Knicks came back and why the Knicks won it and why the Cavs lost it. Number one, Mitchell and Harden were horrible. Mitchell and Harden were horrible. No, it was a good game for Donovan Mitchell, but when it counted, they didn't step up. Mitchell and Harden, and we talked about this all postseason about Mitchell and Harden. They did not step up when the game was on the line. Mitchell and Harden did not step up when the game was on the line. Number two, they continued to let Brunson go crazy. As we said, Kenny Atkinson never made adjustments. And they let Brunson go crazy. And number three, Kenny Atkinson was outcoached. He was outcoached. As you said, 18-1 run. 18-1 run to call a timeout. You cannot wait to call a timeout after a team goes on an 18-1 run. So, yeah, Kenny Atkinson was outcoached. So, for me, why the Knicks won it was Brunson. They attacked Harden, and the role player stepped up. And for me, why the Cavs lost it. And we usually don't do this for like just a regular playoff game. But just because this game was such a historic comeback, I felt like we had to. So, yeah. And then for the Cavs, yeah, they let Brunson go crazy. Mitchell and Harden were off at the end, and Atkinson was outcoached.
Yeah, for me, obviously Brunson was number one. 30 points he had. Majority of those came kind of in the final 7.5 minutes in overtime there. He was sensational there down the stretch. Yeah, number two was they just picked on James Harden defensively. And again, we've been saying this for years, how bad defensively he's been. and his playoff performance have been great. And Kenny Atkinson just for whatever reason never took him out and just let Brunson keep going to getting whatever he wanted there. So just exposing James Harden on defense. The third one, I thought it was the role players as well. I mentioned Landry Shaman had the plus 25 in the game. He had a really good fourth quarter. Mikal Bridges shot the ball pretty well. And Nobi struggled, but he did a good job of getting the line and knocking down some points there. So, the role guys kind of did their job as well. So I'm with you with those kind of three keys right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we will go to what the Knicks have to do. The Knicks have to do to continue their momentum and win this series. So we'll go with what the Knicks got to do to continue their momentum and win the series. And number one, Brunson has got to continue to be Brunson. He's got to continue to be great. He's got to continue to be that guy. That's just got to happen. Number two, Cat's got to step up. Cat has got to step up. I thought it was not a good night for Cat last night. He had that bad foul too in the fourth quarter, but luckily the Knicks were able to bail him out. But the Cat's got to step up. And again, they got to keep getting contributions from the role guys. They got to keep getting contributions from the Bridges and the Landry Shamet, so they can keep OGs. They can keep getting contributions from their big guys, from their role guys. There's no way that the Knicks will not win. We'll fall short in this series.
Yeah, for me, Cat once again's got to be the initiate the offense. He had 5 assists last night. I know he wasn't a great game, but if he's kind of running the offense like he should most nights, like he has for most of the playoffs now, it puts the Knicks in great shape. Number two, I did have attack whoever Harding is guarding offensively. Attack Harden. Because we just talked about it. He hasn't been great defensively. He has been great defensively in his career. So, make that a mismatch. Number three for me was as well as the rule guys. Like if you get Shaman to get you 9 last night, and Obi had 13, but didn't shoot well, but got to the line. Bridges had a really good night shooting the basketball. Josh Hart was all right. It seems like the hack of Robinson's gonna be a thing this series. You're gonna have to have him knock down some free throws, but and Miles McBride had a really good game 4 against the Sixers. You figured he was going to cool off last night, but if he can get back in rhythm, the Knicks rule guys step up like they should. The Cavs have no shot of beating the Knicks here.
Yeah, exactly. If all those things happen, the Cavs don't. But now, speaking of the Cavs, I know this is going to be brutal for them to come back from. But what do they got to do to come back and win this series? And it all starts with their 2 superstars, Mitchell and Harden. It comes back to their 2 superstars, Mitchell and Harden. They got to be able to. They got to be able to step up. They can't have what happened last night. It just can't happen. They can't have what happened last night because really for me, and I'll get to it. I'll get to this. I'll talk about this more later. It kind of feels like what happened to the Pacers 2 years ago, what happened to the Knicks last year, is happening to the Cavs right now. It feels like they lost the game 1. They're not going to be able to recover from. So, but if they want to recover from it, the 2 stars got to step up, and Mitchell and Harden. Number 2, they need to contain Brunson. I mean, do you just let him get his and have all the other guys step up, or did you continue to blitz him? Because last night doubling him did not work because you had Champ making threes, you had Bridges making threes late in the game. Doubling him didn't work. So containing Brunson, and then number 3, guys like Mobley and Allen, they got to step up too. Those guys got to step up for the Cavaliers to get to their first NBA Finals since LeBron's last year with them in 2018.
Yeah. For me, for the Cavs as well, it's Mitchell and Harden. They got to step up. I do think that Donovan Mitchell will. He played well for most of the game. That fourth quarter kind of disappeared a little bit. James Harden, I don't trust in these moments and in these types of games. So, but if they want any chance to come back and come back and somehow win this series, he's got to shoot better than 5 for 16. But I don't know if that will. Number 2 for me is they got to feed the bigs. Mobley and Jared Allen down low. Those guys. Especially if like Mitchell, especially Harden, like I don't expect him to really step up and do a ton. You're going to rely on a lot of Dean Wade. If you get Jared Allen, against Karl-Anthony Towns, who's not a great paint defender, you could have some success there. Especially too, like I don't want Evan Mobley shooting like 8 threes. He was 2 for 8 last night. Like I want him to be a little bit more inside scoring, and they do have a little bit of an edge height wise. So That's my number two. And number three for me is get Harden off Brunson. It was just a total disaster. And if you have no shot to win the series, you're going to keep Harden on Jalen Brunson. You mentioned it was a disgrace that he went 18-1 run there and without calling a time or till he called a timeout. Even late in the game, doing an offense defense thing with Keon Ellis. At least if you had the couple timeouts in your back pocket, do that. If you really want James Harden, like get James Harden off the floor, get him off Jalen Brunson, or put him on like OG Anunoby, somebody that's not really gonna do a ton offensively that's gonna kill you. They gotta figure out where to kind of hide James Harden in the series.
Yeah, they do. Especially on the defensive side of the ball, as you bring in a good point. Do an offense-defense thing for Kenny Atkinson. Do one of those things. So yeah, they got to find a way to hide James Harden. They definitely do. Now, series prediction. I'm going to go with my Knicks, and I got to win it in 5. I got to win it in 5, and here's the reason why. I feel like this loss for the Cavs is very similar to the loss the Pacers had 2 years ago against the Celtics when they had the game 1 and Jaylen Brown hit the 3 to tie it and they lost in overtime. I think it's very similar to the loss the Knicks had last year when they lost to the Pacers. And when they had game 1 and they lost in overtime, and I think the trend continues. I think this Cavs team has a hard time recovering from this. I don't think they recover. I think they get 1 in Cleveland, maybe game 3 or 4, but that's it. I don't think they win a game at the Garden. I got the Knicks getting to their first NBA Finals in 1999. I got my Knicks going back to the finals. I got for the first time in '99. I got the Knicks winning this in 5.
Yeah, I got the Knicks in 5 too. I even before last night's game, I liked the Knicks in 5. Like during that game, it kind of felt like, maybe Knicks in 6. But yeah, the way the Knicks came back, beat them last night, you're right. Like it just the way the Cavs lost last night, it's just such a tough thing to come back from, and I just have a hard time seeing the Cavs bouncing back, trying to get game 2 tomorrow night. Yeah, I think they get 1 in Cleveland, but I don't think they get another one. And I think the Knicks roll, and I think the Knicks are just a much better team. And I got the Knicks here in 5 games.
Yeah, looks like the Knicks, seeing what happened last night, are on their way to their first trip to the NBA Finals since 1999. And the opponent they played in those NBA Finals was the Spurs, and they won game 1 in double overtime over the Thunder. That was a great game. Victor Wembanyama, 41 points. Can you just repeat that? 41. He went 41 and 24. Was phenomenal in the Spurs 122 to 115 win over the Oklahoma City Thunder. So that was a great win. But we'll get to the two teams and what they now the Thunder down 0-1. We'll get to what the two teams got to do to win this series. But we'll start with the Spurs. We got to start with the team that won. And Wemby's got to continue to be great. Wemby has just been phenomenal in this postseason. He's been absolutely phenomenal. And you've seen the games the Spurs have lost in the playoffs. They've really only lost one game that Wemby has played the entire game in, because the game they lost to the Blazers in game 2 against the game they lost to the Blazers, Wemby got hurt. He got hurt in the Blazer game, and then in game think of it. He got hurt in the Blazer game, and then in game 4 against the Wolves, 4 against the Wolves, he got ejected from that game. So the only game he lost, he played the entire game, and was game 1 against Minnesota. So let me tell you, I'm telling you, Wemby just continues to be great. The Spurs, they have a chance to do something that a lot of teams don't do. Usually in the NBA, you got to lose and learn. The Spurs, if Wemby continues to play this way, have a very, very good chance to win an NBA championship. Number 2, contain SGA. They did a good job of that. They did a good job of that for most of the game on Monday night. Contain SGA. If they can contain him, I think they got a good chance. And they either need Castle or Fox. If Fox can come back, we'll see if he comes back. They need Castle, Fox, or Harper to step up. Game 1, Castle was good. Castle was good in game 1. Harper was really good. Dylan Harper was really good in game 1. So they need one of those 3 guys to step up. And if they do, I think the Spurs get to the NBA Finals if all those things happen.
Yeah, for me, for the Spurs, Wemby's got to continue to be a monster. 41 points. He also had 24 rebounds the other night. And again, OKC didn't want to attack him defensively. They didn't. They settled. They did not want to go at him. So the presence that he has on the floor there. He continues to be a monster. The Spurs gonna be tough to beat, and this Spurs team's gonna win a couple championships for all said and done. Number 2, you got to get Fox in there. I love Castle, but he's not a true point guard. He had 11 turnovers the other night. Castle's better off the ball. So they really need Fox back. But it's huge that they stole a game in OKC without De'Aaron Fox. So, Harper played well. Castle besides turnovers, played a pretty good game. And number 3, keep the same strategy on defense. Let Wemby guard the non-perimeter shooter, which was Caruso there tonight. He shot 19. He had 19 shot attempts, and he scored 31 points. But again, I'm not worried if Alex Caruso beats me. I'm really not. So I think they keep that same defensive strategy in there. I think the Spurs are set up great because, as I just mentioned a few minutes ago, OKC wants no part to going to the paint against them. When I know why, but I get why, but you got no shot if you're going to settle the whole series.
You're right about that. You're definitely right about that. You're definitely right about that. They definitely don't want any part of him. They definitely don't want any part of him in the paint. Now we'll move on to the OKC side of this, the defending champs. What are the defending? They're down 0-1. What do they got to do to win this series? And for me, SGA has got to be better than he's ever been in any playoff series. This is the best team, really, through even better than that Mavs team they lost to. This is the best team I feel like OKC has played in any of their playoff runs in the SGA era. This is the best team they played. So SGA has got to be phenomenal. He has got to be phenomenal. Now the second point, it's a lot easier said than done, but they got to find out some way to contain Wemby. They got to find out. So it's easier said than done, but they got to find some way to contain Victor Wembanyama because the guy has just been absolutely phenomenal. He's absolutely ridiculous. They got to find some way to contain him. And then number 3, and this is the advantage that OKC has in this series, this is the advantage they have over everyone. Their bench has got to continue to play great. How about the performance from Alex Caruso? Alex Caruso had 31 points. He was absolutely phenomenal off the bench. He was outstanding. Caruso was absolutely phenomenal off the bench, but they lost because Chet Holmgren was terrible. And that's another key. Chet Holmgren's got to step up if this team is going to win. So I got 4. I got Holmgren step up, bench has got to be good, contain Wemby, and SGA's got to be great.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to start with Chet Holmgren, who was pathetic the other night. He looked afraid of Wemby. And if he's going to be afraid of Wemby, if he's going to stand in that corner and just, not even bother to be much of a threat, they have no chance. Or you're just going to have to throw Harkinson in there for about 35 minutes a night. And I was surprised he only played, about 10 minutes the other night? 10, 12 minutes, I think it was. He's got to be better too, and he's got to be more on the floor. They need a lot more for Chet Holmgren if they have any shot. Number 3 is you have to try to attack Wemby because, as you mentioned a few minutes ago when you're talking about Wemby and how impactful he's been on the floor, you got to get him off the floor and get him in some foul trouble and keep him on the bench for a little bit. So you got to go at him. You got to try to get him some foul trouble there. And number 3 for me is SGA's got to step up and play better. I know he had a better fourth quarter there, but I think he had 10 points going into the fourth. But Stephon Castle did an unbelievable job guarding him. I wonder you almost kind of have him a little bit more off the ball, just try to set some things up, have him come and running off some screens or something, and maybe a couple pin downs, just something, because Stephon Castle is such a great perimeter defender that it's going to be a little tougher SGA, I think, in the series to create on his own. He's going to need some help. So I wonder if OKC gives him a little bit more off the ball in game 2 moving forward.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Now for the series prediction between these two teams. The series prediction, I think it's good. This goes 7. I think it's going 7. I think the series is going to the max. I think it's going to the maximum. I think this is going to be a fun. I think Monday night showed you a preview of what the series is going to be. And I think it's going to be an absolutely phenomenal series. I think it's going 7. But I'm going to go with the more experienced and the more deeper team, and I'm going to go with the Thunder just because of the Spurs' lack of experience. You just never see a team like the Spurs win in this league. You never do. Usually they have to go through some pain. I do think for how amazing Wemby is, and we'll get to him, for how amazing he is, I feel like the Spurs got to go through some pain, and that's why I got the Thunder winning. I got the Thunder winning here. I get the Thunder winning this spot. I get the Thunder in 7.
I got the Spurs in 6. I think going in the year, the preseason, I had Knicks Spurs NBA Finals.
I hope it's the Spurs. Yeah, you've been on the Spurs all year long.
Yeah. Well, as a Kings fan, you mentioned teams got to go through pain and all that. As a Kings fan, all we know is pain.
I know.
The first year Aaron Fox is gone, and our former point guard go win a title. Yeah. That was traded away for nothing for Zach LaVine. Now they're going to dump their contract. Sounds like so. Another disaster in Sacramento. But that's why as a King fan, all I know is pain. But I still just think Wemby's a different animal. And as you mentioned, again, that starting lineup is so good, but so young with Wemby. I think Castle's the oldest guy in that lineup. They're at 20. Was he 21 or 20? Or is it no? I think Devin Vassal's the oldest guy in that lineup, 25. Um, it's such a young team, and I get it, but I just think Wemby's just such a terrific basketball player. I don't see Chet Holmgren coming out of. I just think Chet gonna have. I think he's gonna have a rough series, and I do think Castle's gonna play well against SGA. And I think that the Spurs are just. I think the Spurs have their number. I think they won 2 or 3 this year against OKC. Um, I think the Spurs are just a bad matchup for them, and I think they get them in 6 games.
So you got the Spurs in 6. So you got the Spurs winning in 6. I got the Thunder winning in 7. So we'll see what happens. It should be a great series between these two teams. But we've talked a lot about Wemby, and this was the talk yesterday on a lot of talk shows. Is Wemby the best player in the NBA right now? Is Wemby the best player in the NBA? And I'm going to answer that. I'm still going to say no, but I'm not going to take the guy who he's playing against. I feel like he's past the guy who's playing against in the Western Conference Finals in SGA, who just won the MVP, and we'll get to that too after this. So I think he's past him, but I'm still going to go Jokic, even though Wemby is a much better defender than Jokic. I think Jokic does a better job of making guys around him better because he is someone. Because Wemby, his assist numbers, listen, he can do everything else well. This is completely nitpicking about assists. But Jokic is definitely a better distributor of the ball. If Wemby somehow becomes a distributor, he's clearly the best. But because Jokic is a better distributor of the ball, I'm going to go Jokic. I'm still going to say it's Jokic. I'm still going to put Jokic at 1. But honestly, I'm right now putting Wemby at 2. I'm putting because of his defense and his 3-point shooting. And you saw that 3 hit the other night to tie the game. That was ridiculous. That 3 hit the other night to tie the game. I'm putting Wemby at 2. But I will say no. I will still go Jokic, but I do have him better than SGA right now.
I think Wemby is the best player in the sport. And you mentioned it, it's defense.
Wow.
And at the center position for me, defense still means a lot. Or not a lot, but a good portion for me defensively because of the way he can change shots. The way, again, as I mentioned, OKC was afraid to attack him. Jokic doesn't really get any of that defensively. Again, it changed the way OKC played. So for me, yeah, I think he's the best player in the sport just because of the way he can do it on the defensive end. And I get it that, maybe he's not a distributor. I feel like with Denver, they kind of need Jokic to do it. You got Harper that could do it. You got De'Aaron Fox when he's healthy, he can do it. Castle can do it, but like as we saw the other night, he can be a little, careless with the basketball at times. So they don't totally need Wemby to always be the point guard. But I get it. If those assists are even better. I just like it because of the defensive end of the floor. Just the way he can change things at 7'4", and his wingspan's got to be over 8 feet long. Like he's just, the way he can change things defensively for me puts him over the edge of Jokic.
Yeah, I go Jokic, but I could see Wemby being the best. I could see people saying Wemby's the best. I still go Jokic because number one, he's got the ring, and he's better at distributing the ball. And he's got the ring, the ring. I know it's just totally unfair to say that about Wemby. That he doesn't have a ring yet because it's his 3rd year in the league. But still, I'm going to say Jokic. But let me tell you, if Wemby wins the championship, you're probably putting him ahead of him. And Wemby is on a trajectory where he could be compared to the greatest players in the game, like Michael Jordan and LeBron James and Kobe Bryant. He could be compared to the greatest players in the game.
Yeah, because nobody ever thought we'd see the guy at 7'4" be able to do this. It's insane. The way he could play basketball, shooting ability, just like his all around play. He's just so good in every area of the game. And again, at like his size, we never thought we'd ever see somebody at 7'4". Like even at Jokic, when he started to really become what he has been, it's nobody thought Jokic either. But now it's like even Wemby's going to take that a step further. It seems like down the line here, and he's going to be even better eventually, or maybe he's I think he's a little bit better right now. But it's just so impressive to see how much of a unicorn this guy is. And the Spurs team again, I think for the next at least 5-10 years, this is probably going to be the next biggest rivalry in the NBA. And
without question. Yeah.
I assume this is not the first and only time we're going to see these two. I think this could be like the Bulls, Pistons back, 90s, something like that, where we see these two teams like going at it every year in the postseason.
Oh, without question, without a doubt. without a doubt. And you brought up the rivalry between the Spurs and the Thunder, and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. He won a second straight MVP, but the question is should have Wemby won the MVP? And I'm going to say, yeah, he was top 3 in MVP voting. I'm going to say yes. I think he should have, because if you watch that game on Monday night, if you take SGA off of the Thunder, they're still a playoff this year. They're probably still a playoff team. But if you take Wemby, we take Wemby off the Spurs, they're not as good. They're not as good as the Thunder. So I would say yes. I would say Wemby should have won the MVP.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Wemby should have won it. I do think he's a bigger impact to his team. Because you saw last year when Wemby, had the blood clots or whatever. He missed like the last 3-4 months. Like the Spurs pretty much. Some of it was they just tanked just to get as low as a pick as they could, or as high as a pick as they could. But yeah, if you took Wemby off this team, they definitely wouldn't be as good. And I did have the Spurs pretty high going on in the year. But who else really thought the Spurs would win 60 games this year? Like they really exceeded expectations. Everybody thought OKC was going to win 60 plus games, but I didn't even think San Antonio would win 60 games this year. I thought maybe closer to like 55. So I think too, because they just exceeded the expectations as well for me, is why he should have won it too.
Yeah, I think so. I think yeah, I think so. Exactly. You said it. They exceeded expectations. Yeah, I think that's why he should have been the MVP. I think he definitely should have. I think he definitely should have been the MVP. Now to wrap up the NBA, we'll talk about a move that was made yesterday. Masai Ujiri and the Mavs and Jason Kidd parted ways as Mavs head coach. And I feel like this is Masai Ujiri just cleaning house. Guys won a championship with the Raptors. I feel like this is him cleaning house from this whole horrific. I know they got to an NBA Finals, but horrific Nico Harrison era because they end up trading Luka Doncic. I think the Mavericks, they want a clean slate with Cooper Flag. They want to start new, and that's why I feel like Jason Kidd is out as Mavs head coach.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just think, I wanted to start clean here. Start fresh. Going to bring in a new guy here. Just clean everything off of the Nico Harris era that was a complete and utter disaster. Be interesting who they go after in the next week or so, who they bring in for Cooper and all that. But do they make a run at John Shire? Reunite him.
Oh, God, yeah.
How do you think?
Could you imagine? Head coach. Could you imagine John Shire with NBA players?
I don't know. Maybe eventually he'd win one. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think he's great, but hey, I don't, I think the Duke talent helps him out a lot. So I don't think it'd go well, but yeah, you got a guy like Cooper Flag and kind of mask some things up for you. So, but yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I was just cleaning. I'm with you. I think you're just cleaning of the house.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's cleaning a house after a horrific trade for a Luka Doncic, and yeah, this is what happens when Luka Doncic gets traded. You have to end up cleaning house because that was maybe one of the worst trades in the history of sports. I feel like it was one of the worst trades. I know the Lakers haven't won anything, but to me, it's still one of the worst trades in the history of sports because it destroyed a franchise.
Yeah, it did. It absolutely destroyed a franchise. And what do you got? Nothing. I get it. You got, you're not going to get, you're not getting anything back on that deal. You traded Anthony Davis already, but it's not like you really got anything big in return for him from Washington. So yeah, it just turned out to be an utter disaster. Now with it to be one of the worst trades in NBA history. Now with how good the Spurs and Thunder are, it might be tough, but with Luka in LA, they're gonna get out of there 1 year and they're gonna win it. And yeah, it just looks like a total embarrassment for Dallas because they got nothing in return.
It sure does. It absolutely looks like it absolutely does. It definitely looks like a total embarrassment for the Dallas Mavericks. But we got to shift gears and move on to the NFL. And on Saturday, Aaron Rodgers re-signed with the Steelers. No real surprise. He is back with the Steelers. And really the big question is when you go into the Steelers and when you go into the season, the Steelers did win the AFC North last year. They needed a game-winning field goal from the Ravens to win that division. Now, for my team, thank God the Ravens missed that field goal because that's how I feel like we got John Harbaugh. But really, the question for the Steelers is with Rodgers back, can they compete? Can they repeat in the North? They did add Michael Pittman. They did add Rico Dabble. They have a pretty decent defense, not a great defense, but a good defense. Good defense. They did win 10 games last year. They did win 10 last year with Rodgers. So can they do it? And can they repeat? And I'm going to say no. And there's two reasons. I think McCarthy's a good coach, but he's definitely a downgrade from Mike Tomlin. And the offensive line still really concerns me in Pittsburgh. The O-line concerns me, and Rodgers isn't mobile. And you saw that playoff game against Houston when he wasn't mobile. He looked terrible. He looked terrible. Rodgers has been, the last 2 years, been very, very average. Aaron Rodgers has been a very average quarterback. Not terrible, but not even close to the 4-time MVP that he was in Green Bay. And it's funny how him and McCarthy are now reunited after he got McCarthy fired in Green Bay. So that's funny as well. So I'm going to say no. And I think they're the third best team in the division because of the Bengals' addition of Dexter Lawrence. I know Zach Taylor's sucks the head coach, and they think he should have been fired 2 years ago. But still, with Joe Burrow and the addition of Dexter Lawrence, I would still take the Steelers. Oh, now I take the Ravens to beat all of them. I got the Ravens winning the division, Bengals second, but I think the Steelers are the third best team in the division. They're the third best team in the division, and if this isn't working out late in the year, don't be surprised if Drew Allar's playing the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, for me, I don't think they repeat either. I think they win like 8 or 9 games this year. I'm with you, like Tomlin. I'd rather have Tomlin than Mike McCarthy as the head coach. And you expect the Ravens to be better this year. If Joe Burrow could stay healthy, I wouldn't be shocked if the Bengals have a better record than the Steelers.
I think they'll have a better record.
So,
I think they'll have a better record.
Yeah, as long as Burrow stays healthy, I think they will. But that's a big question. The last couple of years. So, yeah, like I just, and yeah, you mentioned Rodgers just being average the last couple of years. Like you're only going to see him get worse this year than he was last year. He's not improving anymore. And yeah, that offensive line's still a problem. And you mentioned it, that Houston playoff game, he couldn't move and Houston took him apart. And that was an ugly football game, for Aaron Rodgers. So yeah, I don't see this team winning more than like 8, 9 games. I think, and I just see this team probably finishing in third place. So, yeah, I just think they're a mediocre team like they have been the last couple of years. And I think Tomlin's gotten them a win or two extra. And I don't think Mike McCarthy's going to be able to do that this year.
Yeah, so we both have them as the third best team in the AFC North. Now, the question is do they return to the playoffs? They have made the funny thing about the Steelers is they have made the playoffs the last 3 years under Mike Tomlin. Now, they've lost in the first round, and that's pretty much their ceiling has been the first round for the last 5 to 6 years. Their ceiling has been the first round. But do the Steelers make the playoffs? And I'm going to say no. You look at the AFC. It looks like you're going to get two teams in the AFCs to make it. Even with all the offseason distractions in New England, I still think they're a playoff team, and I definitely think the Bills are a playoff team as well. So that's 2 right there. You're going to get – I think you get the Ravens to at least make the playoffs. That's 3 teams. And I think in the South, you get Houston. I think you get their winner, Houston, to make the playoffs. So that's 4. And then I think 3 teams come out of the West: the Chargers, the Chiefs, and the Broncos. So that's 7. No, I think the Steelers missed the playoffs, and I think they have their first losing season since 2003. I think they go 8-9.
Yeah, for me, I'm with you. I think they're like an 8-9 win team this year. I think they do finish in third, and I do think they miss the playoffs because, yeah, you mentioned in the AFC, Pats, Bills, you expect the Ravens to be better. If the Bengals stay healthy, or Joe Burrow stay healthy, you expect the Bengals to be better than them. The Texans are only going to be better. And then obviously with the 3 teams in the AFC West, I just think it's too much of an uphill climb for them. And again, the Steelers have to play a first place schedule this year. I know it helps that they got the NFC South and there's not a great team there, but you're playing a first place schedule, which kind of hurts the team as well here. So yeah, I just think the Steelers team mediocre, and I think they win 8 or 9 games and miss out on the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I think that the Steelers are an 8. They're a 8-win team, and I think they miss out on the postseason. Now, speaking of the schedule, the NFL schedule came out last week, and they got a lot of really good matchups. They got a lot of good matchups, but we're going to focus on our top 5 matchups in the 2026 season. Top 5 games that we'd want to watch. And for me, I'll start, and I'm going to go with the first one. We rarely get a rematch of the Super Bowl between the Pats. We rarely get a rematch of the Super Bowl. I think the last time we got it was to start the 2016 season. We got the Panthers taking on the Broncos. So we rarely get a rematch of the Super Bowl, but we got it now. We got the Pats taking on the Seahawks, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see New England, see how New England, comes off the Super Bowl loss and their off-field distractions with Mike Vrabel. How they do. Even last week we talked about how we didn't think this was going to be the opener because of that, but they chose to make this the opener. So how do they come up with? How do they bounce back? They're probably going to have AJ Brown too going into that game. There's a good chance they're going to have AJ Brown. He won't be in Philly, we know that. So could be in Jacksonville, could be in Jacksonville. But we'll see. We'll be talking about that down the road. But to me, it's the Patriots and the Seahawks. That's number 5 for me. think it's interesting to see a rematch of the Super Bowl, see if the Patriots can get revenge when the banner gets dropped in front of their faces on the opening game, which is a Wednesday night game. So to me, that's number 5. Number 4, I'm going to go Bears-Packers 425 week 4. These coaches hate each other, okay? Genuinely hate each other. Matt LaFleur and Ben Johnson hate each other. And you see the handshakes before the games. I mean, after games. And then Ben Johnson obviously started it saying, I'd love to beat LaFleur twice a year. He did that last year, winning that playoff game. So Bears-Packers could be one of the biggest rivalry in the league right now because of how historic it is and the hatred between the two coaches. So that rivalry is huge. You saw at the Cubs-White Sox game, they're already chanting Green Bay sucks. So I have that in the top 5. Number 3 for me, because these are the two teams right now who I think are going to be in the Super Bowl. The Rams going to Denver to face the Broncos. I really think that's an interesting matchup. You got two of the top rosters in the league going at it on Sunday Night Football. I'm really interested in that one, to see that one. And then 1 and 2 I think are pretty obvious. Number 2 for me, you have to have, when you have the 2 best quarterbacks in the league, that has to be on the list, especially in a quarterback-driven league. Number 2, Thanksgiving night, Chiefs and Bills. Weird not to have Nance and Romo not do a Chiefs-Bills game. That's really, really weird because they've done a handful of them over the last 5-6 years. But Chiefs-Bills on Thanksgiving night, to me, that's going to be awesome. That's going to be awesome to watch. And it's always awesome when those two teams play and to watch Mahomes and Allen, but I think that's going to be awesome. To me, that's number 2. And then number 1, the 2 best teams in football last year were the Rams and Seahawks. We got to wait until Week 16, Christmas night, to see that matchup. And I'm going to go Rams-Seahawks. Rams-Seahawks, Christmas night, to me, is the game that I'm most excited to watch. Justin, your 5 games you're most excited to watch in the 2026 NFL season.
Yeah, my first one is a New England game. It's not the Super Bowl rematch, though. It's Green Bay coming in week 9. 2 of the most winningest franchises. We don't get to see this matchup very much, of course, because AFC versus NFC. Jordan Love going up Drake May the first time.
That's a 425. It's 425.
Oh, yeah.
In Foxborough. Yeah, and here's another reason why it's exciting. Tom Brady's going to be doing the game.
That's what I was going to end with, too. Yeah, Brady, first time Brady will be on the mic for Patriot game. So, so that was also a little of why I kind of put that one number 5. So, excited to see Green Bay, New England there. Number 2 or number 4, I put Green Bay, Chicago on well, but I did the Christmas Day one because I think that could be for the division. Obviously, you mentioned it, one of the better rivalries, one of the most historic rivalries. You mentioned the rivalry with the 2 head coaches. Won't be a lot of Christmas cheer on the those two. Exchanging any gifts on Christmas afternoon. So put that one up there because that could be division. Number 3 at the Philly or Eagles versus Niners, week 17. The Niners took down the Eagles, kind of Philly in the wild card. Last year, but Brock Purdy versus Jalen Hurts, 2 big play kind of style quarterbacks. These 2 have kind of gone at it last couple of years, rivalry, some big games over the years. So, 2 of the better teams in NFC. Maybe I don't think will decide the 1 seed, but could decide maybe that 2 or 3 seed potentially late in the year. Number 2. Kansas City, Buffalo, Thanksgiving night. Really seems like NBC sold their souls to get that game because felt like the Sunday night slate this year isn't as great as usual. So it really felt like they went all in to get this game on Thanksgiving night. Obviously, 2 of the best quarterbacks going at it. The Bills have dominated them in the regular season. Does that continue here? We'll see on Thanksgiving night. And then number 1, obviously, the Christmas night game between LA and Seattle could decide the division, could decide the 1 seed. Both teams played in the NFC Championship game last year. Both regular season games were awesome. Even the NFC Championship was a solid one as well. So these 2 teams played a lot of really good games last year, and I expect this kind of same thing on Christmas night. And those 2 should be a great game.
And to me, Seahawks Rams last year was for the Super Bowl. It really was. So, and it was for the Super Bowl, and it definitely lived up to the hype. So, yeah, Seahawks Rams, I think, it's got to be number 1 on a lot of people's lists. It's got to be number 1 on a lot of people's lists. Now, we will get to the local team schedules. We'll start with my Giants and their schedule, and I like it. I think the first couple games could be difficult, especially that's why Dallas is such a key. Dallas is such a key game. John Harbaugh's already talking here. They had a town hall with and CeeDee Lamb went back at him. They're already going at it for that Sunday night game. That's going to be a really interesting game between those two, Sunday Night Football, Giants, Cowboys. So the first two are prime time. They're putting the Giants right in prime time with John Harbaugh. First two games in prime time. And then I think things soften up a little bit come October. You got the Titans at home, Cardinals at home. So those are keys. There's a good chance this team could start 3-1. You got 3 of the first 4 at home, 3 winnable games. There's a good chance this team could start 3-1. And you got Washington on the road. That could be that's very winnable. You got New Orleans at home. Houston's gonna be a tough game at Houston, even though I think our quarterback is as good as their quarterback at this point right now. But I think that's an interesting game. After the bye week, though, you got Philly, you got Washington, you got Philly, you got 2 division games in a row. Philly at home, Philly on the road, and then Washington, and that Thursday night game. Then Jacksonville coming off 10 days rest in Indianapolis. But where things are going to get tough for the Giants, things get really tough for the Giants in the month of December because they got San Francisco, Seattle. They got the Browns sandwich in between there. Detroit on a Monday night. So 3 of those 4. You got three potential playoff teams in a 4-game stretch there. Dallas on the road, which they haven't won there since 2016, and then the Eagles. December is gonna really, really be tough for the Giants. So I don't mind the schedule. I went through it, and my record, I'd be happy if they win more than they lose this year. I'd be happy if they win more than they lose. So looking through the schedule, I have the Giants going 9-8. Justin, your thoughts on the Giants schedule?
For me, you mentioned kind of the potential of a 3-1 start, which I think kind of crucial for the team because they haven't gotten off to fast starts in the last few years. They've gone up to some really slow starts. This kind of feels like, especially with 3 of those first 4 home games being Titans, Cardinals, and Saints, like you got to sweep those 3 teams. Dallas is definitely a winnable game. First Harbaugh game, like I could see it. But yeah, could you get Washington this year, which you should be able to, especially at home, maybe Jacksonville, ton of travel for them. I know. So, I think a lot of your home games are very winnable and, but like you guys haven't played great at MetLife the last couple of years, but I know you guys haven't been great. So they got to take care of home field advantage this year. But yeah, like the month of December is going to be tough. So, yeah, I think for the Giants, I think they can get off to a good start here. I have them going I think I had them 8-9 right now, but it's a much easier schedule than it was last year. I just got to kind of think this team's better. They're going to be more well coached, but I got to see it. They got to take care of business early in the month of September.
They do. You're right about that. They got to take care of business early. Say they get up to a 1-3 start. Things will not, even with John Harbaugh as a coach, things will not look good this year, and there'll be a lot of questions about Jackson Dart as a starting quarterback. Now we move on to the Patriots schedule, and I'll let you go first. What are your thoughts on it? What are your thoughts on this schedule? Seeing that 2 of their first 4 games are on the road in Seattle and on the road in Buffalo.
Yeah, no cakewalk to open up the month of September. Yeah, the Seattle game. At least you got 10 days. You should beat Pittsburgh. You should beat Jacksonville because I think they've gotten worse. Buffalo's probably be tough, but like after Buffalo, you got the Raiders and Jets, which again you got to get revenge this year against the Raiders. Be pretty disappointed they somehow lose that game yet again this year. You'll get the Jets at home, and then you got short week at Chicago, which will be a tough one. You got Miami in the road where you should go down and beat them. And then the month of November gets tough with the Packers at home, the Lions on the road. You got the bye in between, but then you go to the Chargers, especially too, because the Lions.
Now, that Lion game is in Germany, but I think that's an advantage playing that game in Germany because Goff isn't good outside. Goff isn't as good outside of Ford. He's a lot better at Ford. He's better at Ford Field than he is on the road, especially playing outdoors.
Yeah, that's a good point. I forgot that games would be outdoors now in Germany, and I might not be great weather in Germany either. So yeah, that'd be a huge advantage.
Golf struggles in bad weather.
Yeah, so that's actually So I forgot that game won't be in the dome, so that'll be big. And then the Chargers off a bye, and then you got the Bills, Vikings at home. Next couple. Then you got the Chiefs on a Monday night, so you got 11 days there to prep before you go to Kansas City, which is big. And then you got the Jets on the road, which obviously you got Broncos and Miami there to close out the home slate. So a lot of road games early, but I do have the Pats at 10-7. They could get off to a little bit of a slow start, but
10-7, yeah.
Yeah, I I feel good that they split against Buffalo, that they win, that they go 5-1 against division. They lose the game at Buffalo, and I feel good that they sweep the Jets and the Dolphins. And I now feel even better about that Lions game because I forget that
Yeah,
Germany won't be in a dome. I was thinking Germany
yeah,
was in
yeah,
a dome, but it's not. So I feel better about that Lion game too now.
yeah. My thoughts on the schedule. I think it's tough early, 3 to 4 on the road. Even though I think Jacksonville, you could handle Jacksonville. I think you could handle Jacksonville on the road. Pittsburgh, I think there's a good chance you get revenge there, especially with 11 days off. You get revenge there. You know they beat you last year, but you guys gave them the game, turned the ball over 5 times. You know, watch that game who the better team was. You guys turned the ball over 5 times against them. But playing Seattle and Buffalo, on the road, that's going to be tough early. Then it softens. Week 5 and 6, it softens with the Raiders and the Jets at home. And I don't think they got. I think they got a bad break here in Week 7, going to Chicago on a Thursday night. It's a short week, flying halfway across the country on a Thursday night, playing a good quarterback, Caleb Williams. I thought they got a tough break there having to play that game. But you look at it, you got Miami, you got Packers will be an interesting game, especially with Brady in the building. The Green Bay game on November 8th with Brady in the building, that's going to be an interesting one. Then the Germany game, I think you've got a break in Germany. Because I think if you played the Lions at Ford Field, I think you lose. I think you got a break playing them in Germany. I think you definitely got a break playing them in Germany. You look through other games on the schedule. I think you got another break here too. Having Minnesota go to you on a Thursday. You never know. That could be JJ McCarthy. Seeing that Kyler Murray has trouble staying healthy, that could be JJ McCarthy on a Thursday night. So I think that could very easily be a win. Yeah, in December you got Kansas City and Denver, which is going to be tough. But my prediction overall is 11-6. I think they go 11-6. Yes, I do think they take a little bit of a step back because the team that loses the Super Bowl always takes a step back. There's only been one team that's lost the Super Bowl in the last 30 years that's returned to the Super Bowl, and that was the 2018 Patriots. So the team that loses the Super Bowl always takes a step back the next year. So I do think that even if they get A.J. Brown, I do think they take a little bit of a step back, and I think they go 11-6, and I think it's close between them and the Bills, and they get a wild card.
Yeah, yeah. So you're even higher than me on them. I'm a little worried about the distractions and what's going on, and
you have to be a little bit worried. Yeah, that is worrisome.
Yeah. Yeah, the tough start, like, and they keep the noise out of the room. Yeah, like my worry, yeah, because that from like week 7 to week 12, all the travel that they got to do at Chicago, at Miami, you get the home game at Green Bay, then you go to Germany, you have a bye, but then you got to fly all the way back across the country to LA. That's where like I do worry about that stretch where like maybe you do drop one, or like maybe Miami you beat, but like it's a lot closer than it should be. Like that's my worry where like I could see them maybe during that stretch playing a bad game during all that travel. But yeah, I think it helps to get the Vikings on a Thursday night there at home. Short rest there. I do like that you probably get your 2 toughest road games like right out of the way early. Because like I don't think they're going to Seattle anyways of beating them. We get that out of the way week 1. We're probably not going to Buffalo and knocking them off this year again. So like get that one out of the way early. I guess Kansas City too is a really tough one, but 2 of your top 3 toughest road games you're out of the way by early October, which I like. So, but yeah, so I got like 10-7, 11-6. I those team go 11-6 as well, but just that worry from like week 7 to week 12 with all that travel, kind of I could see them slipping up.
Yeah, exactly. That definitely could be a slip up place. But I got the Pats going 11-6, seeing the schedule that they have. So we'll shift gears on to baseball, and we'll talk a little bit about the Yankees. And last 2 nights they've won, got some big hits. Ben Rice had a big home run last night. You had Chisholm and Pelly stepping up the other night. They get 2 straight wins against the Blue Jays. But again, the biggest concern with this team is the bullpen. The bullpen is the biggest concern. It's clearly there's no question it is the way their bullpen is. Benyard, that was their worst loss of the year on Sunday against the Mets. That was their worst loss of the year. The bullpen is the concern. 2 things that are the concern: catcher, third base, and the bullpen. Because the rotation will be fine. Most of the lineup will be fine. The 2 biggest concerns with the Yankees right now is man at third. He's not hitting. Will behind the plate. He's definitely not hitting. And you gave a really good suggestion last week. Put Ben Rice behind the plate, Paul Goldschmidt at first. You made it good. I think it was a great suggestion because it'd be nice to see Goldschmidt start to play. I mean, I know he's not the player anywhere near the player he used to be, but it's nice to see him play more and then put Ben Rice behind the plate because that's not working. And the bullpen, that's the big question mark, and that's definitely the area that needs to be addressed at the trade deadline.
Yeah, it does. The bullpen. Since Marion retired, I guess we had Chapman there for a couple years, but like outside of those fears with Chapman, like that, the closer spot's been a kind of a weakness for, like we really haven't had a multi-year closer that's really kind of just shut the door that's been reliable. Maybe that's a Mariano effect that like this is just normal what happens with closers and they just blow games every once in a while and it's kind of got to live with it. Um, but yeah, like the bullpen's been a mess. Duvall got out of it last night, but like that kind of got dicey there. I like Cruz, but again, like if that splitter's not going in for a strike, he's gonna walk the bases. And Tim Hill's just old reliable, but like outside of that, it's not. Pat Hedrick has been good. Um, I know Cam Sliver's on inning list this year. Is there a point maybe where we get to September where like he is closing games?
Yeah.
Because he's on,
But that's the good thing with Cole, with Rondon back, with Cole back, they could strengthen this bullpen.
Yeah, they could. Like Weathers is probably going to the bullpen soon. And I think he's got some stuff that could play as a closer. So, but yeah, the lineup. I wish if Rice can catch, I would like him to catch because I think Austin Wells at this point, is a DFA candidate. Like he cannot swing the bat right now.
It's crazy. We're at this point with Austin Wells.
Yeah, like he's just useless behind the plate right now, and it doesn't look like he's getting any better. And now the one catcher that I thought they could go after in the trade market is Ryan Jeffries from the Twins, but he just broke his hamate bone. So like I don't know if he'll be back. I don't think he'll be back in time for the trade deadline. Maybe he will, but he's had a nice year. That's the one catcher right now I would have traded for. That would have been on the market. So yeah, the lineup's been good, but Judge hasn't home run in 2 weeks. I'm not too concerned, but he is in a little bit of a streak there. But nice to take care of business here against Toronto. But right now they haven't beaten a team yet over 500. As of today, every team that they played so far, or every team like the one or the two teams that they've played that have an over 500 record, they got swept by the Rays and Brewers. Everyone else they played is under 500. So I know the AL stinks, but the schedule's gonna get a little bit tougher here, and gotta start playing a little bit better because Sunday was absolute disgrace of a performance to blow that game.
It was a disgrace. It was a disgrace to blow that game. And the big story is going into this weekend though for the Yankees, and speaking of playing good teams, they got the Rays this week, a team that's 3 games ahead of them in the American League East, and that series starts Friday night in the Bronx. And Garrett Cole makes his return on Friday. What do you want? What do we expect from him? What do we expect from Garrett Cole? If he goes like 5 and 2/3, I'm good with it. Just don't overuse him. Don't overuse him. I know the bullpen's I know the bullpen has been a question mark, but just don't overuse him at this point in the year. If somehow they have to lose 2 out of 3 in this series, I can deal with it in May. Just got to make sure he's healthy. You want when we get to the beginning of June, we get to the middle of June, we want Cole, Rondon, Fried, Schlittler. We want this rotation healthy by then because that's the strength of this team. We want this rotation healthy. So don't overuse him on Friday. But it'd be nice to see him have a good start against a good team.
Yeah, it would. I expect him to go like 75, 80. I know his last year upstart, I think he got up to 99, 100, or right around there. So the velocity's there. From what I've seen, it looks like the stuff's there, which is good. But yeah, I expect him to throw 75, 80 pitches. Hopefully that gives him like 5 innings, maybe a little bit more than 5 innings. But that's kind of what I'm expecting from him. Be a tough one. He's got to go up against Nick Martinez, who's looked really good so far for Tampa Bay. Just another diamond in the rough guy that they found. So that's all Tampa does. So better to go 5 innings. But yeah, you mentioned this is a strength of their team. Is that rotation, and they need him back. So I don't expect them to push him. And Cole's great at kind of knowing his body and all that, and knowing his arm. So so I expect it's going to be great because we haven't seen him pitch now in a year and a half.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's been a year, but it's been that long. It's been since he didn't cover first base in the 2024 World Series. That was the last time we saw him. That's the last time we saw him on a mound. Crazy to say that it's been that long, but the last time we saw him on the mound. So Garrett Cole will be making his return Friday night against the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, speaking of this series with the Rays, the Rays head to the Bronx, and they got their 3 best pitchers going. They got Martinez, they got Rasmussen, and they got McClanahan going in that series. But At home, I do think the Yankees take 2 out of 3 here. I think they figure out a way against the Rays bullpen to hit their way through some of these games. I think they get the Rays into their bullpen and they hit their way through some of those games. I think the game they lose is that it's probably Saturday with Weathers pitching against with Rasmussen. But I do think they take 2 out of 3 here. I'm going to say they're going to surprise. They're going to surprise you, and they're going to take 2 out of 3 against the Rays this weekend. Justin, what do you think about what do you think the Yankees do against the Rays this weekend?
I hope you're right because I got the Rays 2 out of 3. I think the Rays are playing better baseball right now. This team's just too streaky. I think the Rays again will beat them playing small ball because the Yankees can't field bunts. Chandler Simpson will run all over them like he did last time. And the Rays just got their 3 best guys on the hill, and I think that's going to be tough. Hopefully they could, like McClanahan, it's going to be tough to beat there on Sunday. Obviously Saturday's gonna be tough to beat. Weathers versus Rasmussen pitch well, and even like Friday night, the way Nick Martinez is pitching, that's gonna be a tough one for Cole and to keep up. I just think this Rays team's playing better right now than the Yankees are, and again, this Yankees team's too streaky for me to again, they have a 16-3 run and then they turn off and they can't. 2 weeks later they can't beat them. Mets. I know the Mets are playing a little bit better, but like you blow a series against the Mets, so. I can't figure that out. This Yankees team, it's kind of the same team that we've always seen under Aaron Boone. I think the Rays take 2 or 3 because they haven't been able to take care of business against divisional teams over the years. And Kevin Cash, I think, is a better manager than Aaron Boone. I think yet again he outmanages him.
Yeah, and you speak of Boone. If they don't get it done, they don't get to the World Series this year, he's got to be fired. He has got to be fired. You would have fired him like 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh,
but I think last year, I think 2024 bought him definitely bought him definitely bought him this year because he could have been fired after last year. Seeing their struggles against the Blue Jays and the way the Blue Jays outplayed him. But yeah. I mean, Aaron Boone. I mean, if they don't get it done this year, he's got to go.
He should be. Yeah, I would have got. Yeah, the 2024 year should have never got him another year because if after game 1, like George Steinbrenner was still around, he would have been in that clubhouse waiting for Aaron Boone to fire him. I would have done the same exact thing if I was Steinbrenner. Because that was. You can't lose a game any worse than you did in game 1 of that World Series. Yeah. You just can't. Yeah. Only Aaron Boone would be dumb enough to go Nestor Cortez out of the bullpen over Tim Hill. I know we talked about it a bunch, but I would have fired him right then and there. I would have fired him before that as well. I would have never hired him in the first place. I would have kept Girardi, but I just think Cash is a better manager than Aaron Boone. I think yet again he kind of just owns him this week and he outmanages him. And the Rays find a way to come to Yankee Stadium because, as we've seen over the years, Rays aren't afraid of the Yankees. They're not afraid of anybody. They're not afraid to come in Bronx and beat the big bad Yankees. So I got the Rays taking 2 out of 3.
Yeah, I got the Yankees taking 2 out of 3 over Tampa this weekend. So we'll wrap up the show talking some Stanley Cup playoffs. We haven't done it much, but we'll start doing it now that we're at the conference finals, and the Western Conference finals start tonight between the Golden Knights and the Avalanche. And Justin, we'll start with the Avs. They look like the best team in hockey. What do they got to do to get to the Stanley Cup final?
Yeah, for me, number one is for them is they're built on speed, create outman rushes against Vegas subpar defense. They should be able to do that. They just got so much speed to the top 4 lines. So expect Colorado to use their speed. Number 2, stay out of the box. You're the better team 5-on-5. Don't give Vegas power play has been pretty good this postseason. Don't give them those extra man opportunities there. And the depth continues to be a factor. They've had 17 guys that have scored a goal this postseason. I think 13 did against the Wild. This has been the best team pretty much all year. They got off to a super hot start. They've been kind of on a collision course to get there, pretty much with Carolina. Pretty much it's like November, December, and it looks like we might get that. One note, too, for Colorado, Cale Makar is out tonight. That was just announced like an hour ago. So undisclosed injury. Don't know when he's coming back. These hockey teams, they keep those things locked and sealed. So I expect to see him game 2, but just a little note there that they won't have probably the best defender in the game going tonight. So maybe that's a little edge for Vegas.
And now what does Vegas got to do to get to the Cup final?
Number 1 is Connor Hart, their goalie. He's got to be elite in that. He's looked pretty good so far this postseason with a 2.3 goal average and save percentage at .917. He's got to be locked in net because Colorado is just so elite offensively. It's tough to keep that team down for too long. So Connor Hart's got to be locked in, and he's got to be elite. Number 2 is Jack Eichel's got to be a star. He's only got one goal this postseason. Mitch Marner has helped them out because he's had 18 points, but they need more from Jack Eichel this series. They want to advance. And number 3, they got to be fully healthy to beat this Avs team. Because the Avs are great in the power play. One of the better penalty kills, Jeremy Liaison, been banged up. I don't know if he's going tonight or not. And then also they need Mark Stone healthy, one of the better forwards as well. So they need those 2 guys in the lineup because Jeremy's a really good winning puck battles, and he's really good defensively too, just kind of clearing the puck on the kill. So they need to be healthy this series to have a shot.
And what's your series prediction?
I'm going to Avs at 6. I think Vegas hits a couple here, but I just say Colorado's just is a better team. Vegas, I don't know if you heard the story. They fired Cassidy about 2 weeks ago in the year.
Wow, they fired the coach. These hockey.
Yeah,
these hockey like GMs and owners have no patience with coaches. Chris Knobloch got fired for going to 2 straight cups.
Yeah. Did you see the Edmonton 2 days before they fired Chris Knobloch, they tried to interview Bruce Cassidy, and Vegas shot it down. So it was like they still had him on staff, and it was so. Yeah, they the minute the players tune out the coaches, they're done. So it's John Tortorella now, our old friend, which in 2-3 years.
Was he an assistant, or did he just get thrown onto this team?
No, he's just thrown onto the team.
Thrown onto the team, and now they're in the conference finals. Yep. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. That's hockey for you. That's the span of a hockey coach.
It's like a year and a half.
Yeah,
they all get fired.
It's nuts. Yeah, it's nuts. I'm like the Rangers a couple years ago, Dry Gallant, and then they had the one bad year. They can't him. So, these the minute they tune them out, they're gone. So Toronto's done a nice job because they closed the season 7-1, and they played well this postseason. So I think Vegas is a couple here. I just think Colorado's a better team. They just got so much firepower. They're so fun to watch. They're exciting. They're exciting hockey team to watch. If you want to watch goal scorers, they got plenty of them.
Yeah, it looks like they do, and they had 121 points, the most in the league. That's why I have them winning in 6 as well over the Golden Knights. Now, we'll move on to the Eastern Conference. Montreal, who had a really exciting game. That was a really exciting game 5. You feel bad for Buffalo because they've never won. So that was a really exciting game 5 between Buffalo and Montreal. You probably were locked into that game 5 between Buffalo and Montreal. Like that.
Yeah,
you probably watched it more than Wemby.
Not a split screen on.
Oh, yeah,
UCTV, I have to split screen, so that helps out.
You watch it more than the Yankees. I know that for sure. You watch it more than the Yankees, especially after what happened on Sunday.
Yeah, thank God I wasn't around Sunday. I was at a province graduation, so I luckily did not get to watch that game. So my Mets friend in the group chat was blowing it up. So
I bet.
So I did not have to see that Sunday. Luckily, but God, poor Buffalo. That poor city, man.
Oh, I know.
I can't get a
break. Yeah, that was just a brutal loss. Monday night. But we'll start with Montreal. What do they got to do to win this series?
Yeah, for Montreal, number 1 for me is their goalie, Jake Dubas. He's gotta be great. He's got to be the biggest reason why they pull off this upset. Thought he played decently against Buffalo. He played all right in a couple games this year against Carolina. He's a young goalie. He's been all right. He's got to be pretty good this series because very low scoring games against Carolina always. So you can't let that soft goal go in against this Carolina team because you're in trouble. Number 2 is they got kind of momentum going into this thing. They've just played a 14-game path of rigorous. It's been exciting 14 games for them. Why Carolina here has played 8 games in a month, and they've been off for 12 days. So use that to your advantage. You got the rhythm going. You got the intensity going. You already been through all these emotional swings the last couple of weeks, so use that to your advantage. And number 3, Carolina's got to establish their tempo immediately. They need to be aggressive. Got to play physical. All the emotional energy kind of from the drop here. They can kind of force Carolina to play uncomfortable hockey early on. Maybe the doubt creeps in because we've seen it the last couple of years against Florida against these guys. They've crumbled. The Hurricanes have. So, if they can crumble again, maybe Montreal pulls it off. The young team, and they've exceeded expectations this year.
They sure have. Now the Hurricanes, 113 points, most of the Eastern Conference, and this is kind of the team that's been knocking on the door to get to the Stanley Cup Finals. You remember in 2022 when they had a 2-0 lead on the Rangers, and the Rangers beat them in 7 in 22. We remember in 23 they got swept by the Panthers. 24, another series with the Rangers. It seems like the Rangers and Panthers always beat them. The Rangers, they're up 3-0. And then the Panthers won. The Hurricanes won 2 straight, and then they were winning game. That was the hat trick game. Chris Kreider hat trick game, right?
Yeah, the Chris Kreider game.
Chris Kreider hat trick game where they won in Game 6, and then last year they lost the Panthers again in the conference final. So Rob Brindamore's team has been knocking on the door. What does Rob Brindamore's team got to do to finally get to the Stanley Cup final? And he was on that 2016 that won the cup over the Oilers.
Yep, yeah, he was, and he's done a great job behind the bench here, and they got straight off the rust. It's been 12 days since they played, and again they swept in their first round too, and they haven't played a lot of hockey in the last month. So all the rust, can they shake that off early on here? Would be huge. Number 2 is kind of staying out of the box because Montreal is one of the more penalized teams so far in the postseason. They've been shorthanded 54 times. So, if Carolina can stay out of the box here and make Montreal make mistakes here, get themselves in trouble. Carolina's got to have a good edge in this one. Number 3, I think the center position is going to be huge, especially for the Canes because the guys they can run out. Nick Suzuki from Montreal is good. Jake Evans, Phil Dulai's been around forever, but Aho versus Suzuki to be a great matchup. Those two, who can win the face-off battles? Those big offensive draws there. Even on kind of special teams, you can win those big face-offs there. I think it's going to be kind of huge in this series. So, especially because Carolina's been pretty good all year winning faceoff. So, just the battle of the center position is going to be, I think, huge in this one.
I think it will be. I think it definitely will be. And now, for the series prediction, who do you got?
I think Carolina 5. I just think Montreal's got has gone on a nice run here. That place, I don't know how many Montreal home games you've watched so far in the postseason, but that place has been on fire, and they've been so excited for this postseason hockey to be back there. Carolina just does such a good job of funneling everything towards the boards and just making sure they take away the middle of the ice. It's just so hard to score against them. I don't know if Montreal has the firepower to just be able to score enough against them. And I think Carolina finally gets over that hump here, and they do move on to the Stanley Cup, and we get Carolina and Colorado, which 40 years ago could have been Whalers versus the Nordiques.
Remember that rivalry, the Whalers
and
Nordiques.
Yeah,
could have been Whalers Nordiques, and now it looks like it's going to be Carolina and Colorado.
And I guess that was Montreal's first Game 7 OT win since they beat the Oilers since they beat the Whalers in '92, I guess, as well.
Wow. That's interesting. So I got Brandon Moore finally breaking through and getting to the final. I got Brandon Moore's team, Rob Brandon Moore's squad, beating the Canadians in 6. But that will wrap up this edition of Sports Talk with R&J. For Justin and Alfredo, I'm Steve Risser. We will be back next week talking about the conference finals in the NBA, talking about the conference finals in the NHL, the Yankees and Red Sox, and any NFL news that comes our way. Have a great Memorial Day weekend, everyone.